Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm coming to you guys with a video on forgiveness and the importance of it and things that I've been learning about it. And I wanted to make this video partly because I went through a couple of situations where I have found it really hard. So I wanted to make this video just to process with you guys a couple of things that I've learned about forgiveness in the hope that they can help you come to a place where you can let what that person has done go. I feel like forgiveness is one of those things that either it comes really naturally to you and you hate yourself for it, or it's really hard for you to forgive and you end up fighting with bitterness. And it's one of those things where it can be really hard to find the balance. If you forgive too easily, it's easy to get hurt again if you're not careful and if you don't put boundaries in place and stuff, which we'll talk about a bit later on. But then on the other end of the spectrum, if you find it impossible to forgive, often you end up having bitterness kind of eat you up. And you know, I've said this before in videos, and I feel like it's a well-known saying that bitterness is literally, or unforgiveness, it's literally like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Forgiveness is really self-love. It's about self-love. The other person really is irrelevant. So the first thing I do when I am struggling to forgive someone is just make space for how I feel. So this is my first tip to you. Make room for how you're feeling. Your emotions are valid. Your response to being hurt or betrayed or misused or whatever you're going through right now is valid. You're allowed to be sad. You're allowed to feel hurt. You're allowed even to feel angry. You're human. And I feel like the first step should always be to accept how you feel and let it kind of run its course. Have your kind of grieving period, but don't wallow in it. Don't stay there. Trying to kid yourself into believing that you're fine and you're better off without that person anyway. Yes, okay, you might get to that stage eventually, but I feel like there's a really important time of being in tune with how you feel. Am I responding justifiably to what's happened to me? Am I overreacting? What can I learn from it? How am I feeling? Just taking a moment to stop and allow yourself to feel how you're feeling. You guys know I'm such a big advocate of journaling, but honestly, I'm the kind of person who will sit and write down exactly how I feel. And that for me, I find is very therapeutic. So I definitely recommend you guys try that if you haven't already. And my second tip for you guys, based on what I would do, is understand that forgiveness is a crucial part of self-love. If you claim to be a person who loves themselves, who cares about their own well-being, personally, I feel like forgiveness is a massive part of being that kind of person. A lot of people see forgiving another person as a weakness or as a sign of being fragile, perhaps. I personally believe that forgiveness is a strength. Weakness, in my opinion, is going along with human nature and allowing bitterness to develop and allowing resentment and maybe even a desire for revenge to develop. That's natural, that's human nature. There's no friction there. There's no strength required to combat it. Strength, on the other hand, in my opinion, is when you decide to go against that human nature and you decide to be the bigger person. Forgiveness is the choice to not do what naturally occurs to you to do. It's the choice to go against how you might feel about that person. There is strength and grace and maturity in choosing to forgive another person. I have learned that there is humility in forgiveness. It stems from a recognition of my own flawedness. It stems from a recognition of the fact that I am so imperfect and I am, in my own respective way, just as flawed as you are in your own respective way. Humanity is flawed, and personally I feel like there's no point living a life angry with that fact. The humility aspect of it comes when you realize that you are no better than that other person. And yes, they hurt you, but chances are you have at some point in your lifetime, or you will at some point in your lifetime, hurt another person. And especially as a Christian, I know that I have sinned against God to such a greater extent than this person has sinned against me. So, and if God can forgive the sins that I've committed, if God can love me despite my flaws, if God can give me that unconditional love, I know that I have no reason, really, honestly to not be able to forgive another flawed human being who is just as imperfect as I am. The fifth thing that I've learned about forgiveness is the importance of learning from what you've been through. I don't want you guys to think that I'm saying forgive and forget and let the same thing happen all over again. No. To be honest, I feel like this is something that I learned at a relatively young age, the ability to love from a distance and to be able to put emotional boundaries in place so that you actually don't let that person affect you in the same way again in future. So how can you learn to love from a distance? Well, first of all, decide what you will and will not allow that person to know about you. So if it's a close friend who has betrayed you or let you down or shown their true colours or whatever, I would in my head decide that there is only so much that this person is going to know about me. I'm an awesome person. You're an awesome person. So I'm an awesome person and I have so much to offer. And that's not to say the other person isn't, because we all are. But it's a recognition that you don't really deserve to have access to me if you are only going to try and tarnish that. The next point that I have for you guys is to stop talking about it. Stop telling the world, everyone you meet, what this person has done to you. Personally, I feel like unless you are telling the story in order to help someone, and I mean genuinely help someone, instead of it being about gossiping, it needs to be, I think, about edifying the other person and helping the person. I think a sign that you've truly forgiven someone is getting to the point where you can talk about what that person did to you without feeling resentment towards that person. It's really weird. Being someone who's easily forgiving, I think for me, there have been situations where I've almost allowed someone to take advantage of me and my kindness repeatedly, like after 3-4 times of the same thing happening, of their true colours being revealed. That is when I then find it really hard to forgive. And it's almost a weird thing, because not only am I dealing with the hurt of the person betraying me, but it's also the fact that they've done it 3 or 4 times and I've let them do it. And then it's also the fact that this feeling that I'm feeling of bitterness and resentment is really against my nature. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully these tips and things that I've been learning can bless and encourage you, and I'll catch you in my next video. Love you lots. Bye.